Hi guys, it's Sterling Spectre here, welcome back to the Mining Show. Today we're going to be looking at the Intel's new Arc GPUs. So it says here that Intel reveals first Arc A750 desktop GPU benchmarks. Intel shows a 13% performance lead over the RTX 3060. So really today we're just going to be learning about what the specs are on this and see if they're actually good for mining in terms of, is this going to be better than the 3060, as it says it has a 13% performance lead, but I believe that's over gaming and not in mining. So we're going to look through it and see all the specs, and then we're going to judge to see if it will be good for mining. The first Arc A750 desktop graphics card performance numbers were shown for Intel's upcoming GPU in a new video game, showing how it stacked up against the GeForce RTX 3060 in a selection of 5 games. That's one of the best graphics cards, delivering mainstream gaming performance roughly in the middle of our GPU benchmark hierarchy. So we all know the 3060 is a very good card for mining, and the 3060 Ti is basically the most efficient one. So that's what they're stacking it up against in terms of, performance, because it can't really stack up to the 3090 or the 3090 Ti. All the usual caveats apply for these Intel provided benchmarks. The choice of games and settings were almost certainly done to paint the Arc A750 in the best light possible, but the results do show promise. We're still waiting for the official worldwide launch of the Intel Arc Alchemist GPUs, which should happen in the next few months. I believe it's happening in December or October. There might be some pushback due to, chip shortages and stuff like that. So we'll just have to see. Ryan Shrout, formerly of PC Perspective and now part of the Intel graphics marketing team, takes us through the upcoming GPU that shows a short segment of the Cyberpunk 2077 benchmark sequence. All testing was performed at 1080p at high settings and reasonable target for a mainstream GPU. You can see results halfway through the video, but we've pulled Intel's numbers from the end to create the following. So there was a video up here, but it's private now so we can't see it. But these are the benchmarks for the A750. So as we can see, there wasn't really much change in Fortnite, 6%, but overall there's been an improvement of around 15-14% if you average it out. The Intel A750 is about, I'd say about 10 points higher than most of these on here, but let's get into how it actually performs in mining. The GeForce RTX 3060 is no slouch when it comes to gaming performance. It can easily handle 1080p at maxed out settings for most games, and 1440p at higher qualities should typically deliver over 60 frames per second. All of that basically agrees with the Intel's numbers, but the more important bit is how the Arc A750 stacks up. Across the 5 games, Intel's GPU delivered 13% higher performance on average, with a lead ranging from 6% in Fortnite to as much as 17% in F1. That's a pretty good showing for a graphics card that we hope will cost somewhere in the range of $300 to $350. Of course, these are Intel's own benchmarks in a handful of games. We know from independent testing that the Arc A380 desktop GPU that delivers from the Arc still in development, with performance that can be varied greatly between games. While AMD and Nvidia have optimized their drivers for many games over the past couple of decades, Intel's integrated graphics drivers often felt like an afterthought. Things have improved, but there's still plenty of work to do. None of Intel's benchmarks use ray tracing effects despite Control, Cyberpunk 2077, and Fortnite supporting direct ray tracing. We'd really love to see some ray tracing benchmarks for the Arc GPU, if only to satisfy our own curiosity. The maximum number of ray tracing units for an Arc A series is around 32, and the A750 likely has 24. The RTX 3060 only has 28 RT cores, but those are Nvidia's second generation RT cores, and we still don't know how those compare to Intel's. So right here we have the Intel Arc Alchemist rumored specifications. So obviously these are just rumored, but they probably are pretty close to what the actual GPUs when they come out will be. So we all know that it's going to have 6 nanometer technology, and this is just the architecture that they have in it. I don't really know what this is about. This is more about their Xe cores that they've created. As we can see here, this is basically a panel. This is what Xe cores are. They're a panel of mini cores that you put together and they basically produce to be a one singular core together. So the more Xe cores you have, you'll have better processing power and things like that. It will also help towards mining, which is what I'm looking at for. So obviously the Arc A77, which is the top end of these GPUs, has 32 of them. So 32 Xe cores running together to make up one core. And here we have just the GPU shaders, the matrix cores, and the ray tracing cores. Here they don't actually have a figure for the boost clocks, but it would be good to know about this. This is one of the main things that happens in mining, is you want to look at the core clocks and the memory clocks for these GPUs. Which ways you can push them, and which ways you can minus them to get better hash rate on these GPUs. So if we knew what the boost clocks were, we could see if we would be able to push this GPU a bit further to get better hash rates. Now in terms of VRAM, this is good that they have 16, 12, 8 and 6 respectively, because all of these can mine on Ethereum. 6GB is obviously pretty low when compared to the GPUs that are actually coming out right now, but obviously Ethereum's moving to proof of stake. We don't really need to worry about the memory size when it comes to the DAG file, because Ethereum will be moving to proof of stake. But there are other coins out there that will have bigger DAG sizes, and we will need these higher memory GPUs for that. In terms of double mining, where they did like Ethereum plus like Zilliqa and stuff like that, where they were triple mining, double mining, you need higher RAM sizes because they were taking up like 4GB for Ethereum, and then it'd be 3GB for another coin, 3GB for another coin. So it's useful to have these higher VRAM sizes so you can support, triple mining or double mining. Now the VRAM bus width is a very big thing in mining as well, and also the bandwidth on a GPU is very big in mining. These are the two main factors that you kind of want to look at in terms of mining performance. If we see here, we have a 256 bus width on the top end of the Arc GPUs. Nvidia tend to have very higher bus widths, like around 350, something like that, for most of their top end, 3060s, 3090s and stuff like that. And the same with the bandwidth, we have 512. Nvidia tends to have around 600 or 700, something like that. So in terms of mining, these are the two figures that we want to really look at, and the boost clocks, basically. Right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to be very good for mining in terms of these bus widths and boost clocks, but we haven't really got the actual figures for the boost clocks yet. But we do also want to see what the power consumption is. So if we click here, there's just rumors of the power consumption. It's going to be 225 watts. Now the 3060 Ti only consumes around 200 watts, as it says here, for gaming, and this one produces around 225 at full power. In terms of efficiency, we know the 3060 Ti is very good when it comes to efficiency. And because they're stacking this basically up against the 3060 Ti, we can see that there is a bit more power consumption, but the efficiency on mining will be pretty good for this card if you want to mine on it, just because it's got low wattage consumption. The newer model GPUs like the 3090, 3080 all consume like over 300 watts, and the new 40 series is rumored to consume up to 600 watts. That's what the power cable is designed for. So in terms of efficiency, it's pretty good that it's at 225 watts as the maximum. You can obviously lower power consumption, by 10%. It would give you around 205 watts of power, something like that. But overall, I think it's good for mining, and I don't think we'll see much of a difference between the top end of the Arc GPUs in comparison to the 3060. Intel hasn't detailed the official specs for the Arc desktop GPUs it plans to launch, but we expect the A750 will have 24 and 3072 GPU shaders, with a 12GB of GDDR6 memory on a 192-bit bus, probably clocking in the 2.0 to 2.3 GHz range. On paper, that should at least put it in the same performance realm as the RTX 3060, which would also put it in direct competition with the Radeon RX 6650 XT. Now, I also want to talk about the price. I know for the price of the 3060, it was around $350 at retail. So this, going up against it, will be the same, I suppose. But it says here that the A3080 is supposed to have a price point of $129, which is kind of around the same as the 3050. So I'm kind of putting them in the same category when it comes to mining. The 3050 was terrible at mining, so I believe that the A3080 will be terrible at mining as well. But it did say at the top here that the range for these top end ones would be 300 to 350, so it is around the range of a 3060 or a 3060 Ti. So I'm waiting for these Intel GPUs to come out. When I get one, I'll obviously do some testing, benchmarking and stuff like that on different algorithms, so stick around on the channel for that. I'll put a link to this article in the description below if you want to check it all out. And leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.